Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work podcast. I'm your host, Bass Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you're watching and listening to this podcast or both. Um, this week we have patience is a virtual. We've been going back and forth, seem like forever, but we here. We're making it happen. Before I introduce my guest, make sure you follow the podcast on YouTube. Hit that red subscribe button. Type in the Social Work podcast. Let's follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work podcast. That's all one word. We follow the podcast on Twitter at Social Work Shout out to hashtag Social Work Twitter. Lot of fascinating people on Twitter. Um, yeah, and also hit the like button on Facebook, aka Meta. Type in the Social Work podcast on Facebook. My guest is one of, I guess, owns or co-owns the one of the best. If you're looking to get your social work license, whether it be the LM or the LC, one of the best programs out there. Everybody knows it as the boot camp.
That's it.
And either if you do the weekly classes, the intensive 1 day intensive, however you do it, online, wherever it is, this is the person. What are the people you need to get in contact? Dr. Edith Chaparro.
Thank you,
How you doing, my
Bass.
friend?
I'm doing okay. How are you? Thank you
I'm doing
so
okay.
much for inviting me.
No, no, of course. I'm glad we could finally make this happen.
I know, right? We went back and forth a bit.
No, absolutely. So,
No, I
uh,
appreciate it.
no, no, of course. For those who don't know, let's start with you as the person before we get into your
Sure.
business and how you got started and your upcoming event, event coming up. Let people know who you are and what you do, and
What I
excited
do. Okay,
field of
sure.
social work.
Thank you. Well, my name is Dr. Edith Chaparro, like Bass introduced me. I'm a clinical social worker. I have my LCSW-R. I'm also a doctor in psychology, and I have been in the social work field since 2003. So it's been a minute, right? I entered social work school in 2001. And believe it or not, my second day of class was the tragic 9/11. So that
Oh
was just
wow.
like, so yeah, that was just such an experience since then. That's something I never forget. It's been like 21 years, and that's something that I'll never forget. And I think that just changed a lot in how my perspective was of social work, because I saw how involved our field was since that beginning. Like, I was just not even a social worker yet,
Yeah.
but just entering the classroom environment at NYU, I just noticed how our field was just so cohesive, and they came together and they were on the front lines since that moment. So that really gave me a big, I guess you like, eye opener to what our field is actually all about and all the differences and changes that we can make in our field. And like I said, I graduated in 2003 from NYU, and I've had a long history of different types of jobs, employment, side gigs, all
Mm.
that kind of fun stuff. Um, and I considered myself a clinical social worker and a psychologist, but I also consider myself a businesswoman. I was brought up by a great businessman. My father was a physician, and he owned his own clinic in Jackson Heights, Queens.
Okay.
And I have been following his footsteps since I was very little. I was like, I want to work here. And I was like 5 years old. And they're like, well, how are you going to work in a medical office? But I guess you could say I wanted to follow his footsteps of being a business person and not just owning my own business, but giving back to the community. Because where his clinic was in Jackson Heights, which is predominant, it was predominantly Hispanic, Hispano Latino back in the day, but now it's changed, it's
Yes.
fluctuated. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that area, but back in the day, I wanted to also say, one day I want to get back to my community. one day I want to do this. One day I want to do that. I've always been talking like that since I've been very little. So just the reason I chose social work was, I don't want to say it was a shortcut, but I noticed that when I did review the curriculum and the program for social work, I noticed that right away you enter into an internship,
Hmm.
which at the moment I was excited about, but once you start the internship, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Or like, get me out of here. But I just noticed about social workers, number one, I think we're born social workers. If you're going to go into the field and you're going to be a great social worker, I think it's just we're very different from other, not to be mean, other mental health fields.
Hmm.
We tend to be, and this is just from my observation of many years, much nicer and kinder, and we actually want to help people. Um, and we have the training right away in from day one or day two, entering an internship. So I think our field is very important, and and that's why I chose it. And I think it chose me. I think that the field actually chooses us,
Yes,
uh,
it does.
right?
It definitely chose me.
It's
And I
true.
chose it back because
Yeah.
they could choose you, but if you like, nah, I
Yeah,
don't
if
want to
it's
do
not for
this. Yeah.
you, it's right away. Because I've had people in my class that are like, you know what, I don't think this is for me. And then they go into being a teacher, they go into nursing, like right away. I think like it chooses us, we choose it. And then it's like you're a social worker for life, no matter what, even if we complain about it or we're like, oh my God, my client, this, my progress notes, oh, I haven't done a progress note in like months or whatever. It just, we somehow it's like a we're in the battle,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. It's like all day, every day. They and
Every
and
day.
and some jobs is just hard to decompress after a long day, and especially these
Yes.
last couple of years, no, with COVID, and
I think
I
it's
know,
become more challenging.
yeah, I know we all going through vicarious trauma in some way,
Yeah.
in some more than others, and I spend a lot of time talk about the vicarious trauma. Shoot, I went through my own, so I'm gonna talk
I
about my
know.
own, and so in more, in more ways than one, and still going through the trauma, just the news, and like working in the school social worker, and then this past year and a half, and then got to go
Oh,
to
that's
work
right.
the day after the
How
shooting
long
in
were you?
Texas, and it's like,
Yeah. Oh no.
and then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, something pops off, like, where do I go
If it
hide? And then,
from if it's
I,
one thing after the
yeah,
other, that's the way it's been.
so it's
I mean, the
crazy.
world has changed so much, and just like that, our field has evolved incredibly
Hmm.
within the last 20 years. It's and like I said, I've worked in like clinical settings, and when I began to teach, I taught at Pace University in 2006 or seven, I forgot. And I think that's when I said, you know what, I want to become an educator, but I still want to be in our field, and I also want to be a businesswoman. I know it's like a lot of hats, but I mean, honestly, when you're a social worker, we are multitaskers. We can hold like a bunch of different jobs. I mean, so many social workers I know, I'm like, oh, where do you work? Like, which one? They have like two, three jobs.
No, exactly.
And not just in social work. And that's
Hmm.
one thing about, like you said, being a great social worker is you can be a social worker, but there's other areas that you can incorporate what you've learned. For example, I know that you're an instructor, and just that, just having the people skills, or just people coming to you, you're like, why does everybody talk to me everywhere I go? Or like people ask me for help, like they know what we are without us telling them. Maybe we
That's
have like a
nice.
little sign on top of our head, like, come to me, I will help
No,
you.
but the the basics of that we learn about, running groups in social work rooms, that I use those same basic skills
That's
when I
right.
teach my Zumba class, and it's just I just have to be way more animated than I like normally am, but the
Oh, it
social work
is.
skills, the social work
Any
skills are there. So
I think any relationship has those group process, what do we call it, the group progress steps,
hmm
right? So that's something I'll teach a little today. Like the first step is pre-affiliation,
Right.
performing whatever norming, storming. The first step is like, okay, everyone's kind of like, all right, what am I doing here? Am I
Mm-hmm.
okay? Everybody's like maybe testing you as an instructor. But then
Yeah,
by
exactly.
the middle of probably the class, everybody really gets into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they feel comfortable. And then at the end, they're like, okay, we're finished. And they're like, oh, ready?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and that happens. It's just a dynamic of group. It's amazing. It can happen. And then as a therapist, as a social worker, we just hone in more on
Mhm.
people's interactions and dynamics.
Yeah, and also like nonverbal cues, the body
Yes,
language, and like
it's amazing.
there's something off with you. What's going What's going on?
It's amazing. We are psychics.
Yeah. I'll be like, what
We
you
have that
looking?
special ability, and I believe that, and that's something that um, I just from knowing so many social workers, I've met thousands and thousands probably at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed right away, like, how the heck does she know that? Or even if I have an off day, if I'm teaching, they're like, "Are you okay?"
Mm-hmm.
Or when I'm talking to, like, they know. And sometimes like, I have my certain client, social work bootcamp clients that I've known for years. I'm talking like, and if they ever listen to this podcast, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, that's me." I've known them, and I've known them from the beginning, and now they're like parents with kids, and maybe like they even have their doctorates already,
Mm-hmm.
or they're just, we always stay in contact. And that's one thing that's changed a little bit. Back in the day, yes, I had more like in-person contact. And well, not back in the day, but now that things have evolved,
Yeah.
it's a different part of building relationships online.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I try. I said, you know what, I really need to build relationships with my clients, because I don't, it's not in person. Before we were in a class, remember, I could sit
Yes.
down and chat, and I know I sat with you a bunch of times. We're
Yes.
just chat and talk, and then but now I can't sit and talk, so
But
I'm like so sad.
but let's backtrack a little bit
Mhm.
because you like let's you have your boot camp classes that obviously that you're alluding to now you're doing online stuff, but
Yes.
how you got started, doing that. Obviously there's a need because like
How
especially
did I start?
now in the profession is either like I know there's more. I seen like a little bit of a switch that because like okay, you could use your social work skills and be transferable and maybe not necessarily need the license, and people go back and forth
Mhm.
or you got to be licensed, I don't want to, or
Right.
this and that, and
The
so
good
how do you
thing
guys
that
started?
Okay, so how did I get started? All right, so when I first graduated, I was studying for my exam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I was studying for my exam, I'm looking through back in the day, there was probably only like two other programs available. And I had actually the books from both of the programs. So I was studying all these volumes of books and information. I mean, my whole book was like highlighted. It was like yellow pretty much. The whole thing was yellow, highlighted notes. And then I started doing exam questions, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing good, but I know I should do better. And then Dr. Mediano was the one that actually, he is very good with exam prep and breaking down questions. So he told me, like, how are you breaking down these questions? So I would show him, and
That's
then
your husband, by the way.
and now I had to marry him because I was like, look, this guy helped me pass the LMSW, and we helped each other. And then now I can't like let him go. So I had to keep him around because I'm like, what's gonna happen after? So I told him, hey, you know what? This is working. And we put like the information together so that I could study, and we built like a little I guess you could say a strategy.
Hmm.
So all those books that I read, because the thing is with this exam, you never know what's on the test. That's the
Yes.
part of this exam. You could study the social work dictionary, there is one actually,
Yes, there
and then you
is.
get there you get there, you're like, everything I studied is not on this, because it's really about how you're reading the questions. So when I did these strategies with him, I passed the test right away. So I said, you know what? The other books I was reading, they don't really teach me the strategy. I'm gonna try to help my friend who had a hard time passing and see if these little and this is when we had like three little or four little strategies.
Mm,
Let me see if this works with her. And I asked her, I was like, do you want us to teach you? And she's like, okay. So we had to do it together because my content and strategies and his strategies, we combined it
mm,
and then we taught her, but not thinking anything, and then
right.
she passed right away, and then she told someone else. So then we said, you know what, like maybe we can just like help some people. So my first class was like two people,
Mm,
right? And we just that's how it started, just evolving. And then, and you probably will laugh at this, but this is how old I am. My first social media was MySpace. That's all I had to work with. So the boot camp had a MySpace page. It's probably still there. I mean, I have no idea how to look
probably.
that up. It's still there. Quien sabe, like what is even on that? But
Man, I tell people all the time, man. MySpace taught us like coding. If you want like our page to look
yes, those
to
those graphics and
yeah,
stuff, right?
the original gifs and all that, and put
Yes.
music like
I had to figure all that out. Yeah, the music. Oh
yeah.
my God. No, it was hilarious. So that's actually that's how old the boot camp is. I had the MySpace page and that was my social media and people started to find me there. And I was like, you know what? I wasn't even going to do this. I was like, all right, I'll do some tutoring. Kind of like, because I was working, I was teaching, I saw clients, I was doing clinical work, I worked at OMH. So then I built it. And then at one point I was not gonna do it anymore because I was like, oh, I'm tired of doing so many things. And
Mm,
then someone said to me, this person that she was the breadwinner of her family. She was actually a school social worker. And she's like, if I fail my test, I don't know what my family's gonna do because I have to pay the mortgage. I got to do everything. And she passed with our help.
mm,
Yeah, I sat with her for hours. It was just me and her. She was completely like looking at it differently. We had to, put on boxing gloves and everything because, you have to kind of change the way people are thinking with
yeah,
this
it's a
exam.
mindset. Yep.
It is. So she passed her test, and then she was like, "Don't ever quit because we need you. We need you. The field needs this
Mm,
because when it comes down to anything, to everything, she needed her license in order to continue to work and continue to secure her employment. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep her words in mind, and I'm gonna actually slowly just kind of just create my own program and that's what I did. And I'm here, and this is 16 years that I've been
wow.
doing the program. Hmm.
Yeah, amazing. Like I I know I've taken many classes. I think I started the one day.
Oh, you did the one day. Okay.
I did the
Yeah,
one
we have
day
the
like
one that we
all
have a one
in
day
the whole in the
workshop,
whole in the whole the hotel. I was
and the whole. Believe it or not, it didn't. Nothing started like that. That's what people see, like the end
so see
result.
like I try to picture just like two people and be like
That was
literally
my
have
first workshop. Yeah.
a couple like 100 be up in there like all day
Yeah.
and reading the workbook like on my way back home from Queens to the Bronx and like
That's
studying like
right. I
taking
had
it all over.
CDs. I had CDs.
CDs, yeah, I remember the CDs.
Hmm. Now we have the audio app. That took a while because even myself, like I'm not, a young person. It took a while for me to even, I'm telling you, the field has evolved
Yes.
from CDs to now audio app to a lot of social media, different ones. And now I have, like I was telling you earlier, we have a YouTube channel now. So I'm going to be uploading educational videos for social workers because we want to be able to help as much as possible, and there's just so much you could just expand yourself to.
Right.
And by providing that additional support, I think it's going to be very helpful.
No, yeah, it's definitely beyond helpful and the field needs it. Like always see jobs and it's like not even like LM jobs. Like you need people are
Yeah,
constantly asking for LC, and then it's like,
it's now LC. It's well, basically it is LC.
yeah,
Some states, especially New York, for some, I guess they have their reasons, but they wanted to instill this LMSW, which is honestly just to have a license number, I think, straight out of graduate school. But honestly, it if hopefully one day, and I hope I could see this, I hope they could just have the LC in New York, because it doesn't really, even the exams are just so closely related, it doesn't even honestly make sense. You study the same things,
mm,
you study the same type of strategies. It's just taking an exam after supervised hours again. That's pretty much what it is. And that's what there's like a misconception sometimes.
right.
A lot of social workers go in thinking they're taking all this clinical type exam.
Mm,
It's just really not like that. But that's one difference between LM and LC. But hopefully one day, maybe our field could just have one exam like most fields do. They don't have two, three types of two exams or anything like that. Just like in psychology, there's just one exam. Even medical doctors, I mean,
yeah.
even though it's just one license, they're not gonna take like another license exam. It just doesn't make, yeah. So that
Yeah, I
hopefully our
know. I
field
know
could get that.
Illinois is like started, no, changing that, and I hope,
Yeah,
hope,
there's some hope for that.
yeah,
There is
there's
some hope.
hope, and hopefully, I know there's a universal like interstate
Yeah.
compacting, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's in the works. So
It is
hopefully,
in the works.
so
That's
hopefully,
why I'm going to pray. I'm going to put all my velitas on, all my little rosarios, and I'm going to pray. I pray all the time for all my clients. I'm like, oh my God, I want that to pass. Because my mom used to even pray for them. She's like, oh, I hope they pass their exam, and tell them if they don't, it's okay. They could do it again. And I'm like, okay, mom, I'll tell them that you said that. So,
yes,
a
yes.
little Hispanic lady, a Latina, is telling me like, okay, I'll let them know what you said. And she's so cute. She would always be also my backbone.
No, that's great that you have that support system. Now, what do you do with people like myself that have like test anxiety and
Ooh,
like
test
a
anxiety.
ASWB got over $1,000 of my money now.
Ay, ay, ay.
I'm avoiding them with the plague. So, like, but what do
Well,
you do with people that I've seen people like they failed the exam, now they got like study again, or sometimes they have like tech anxiety. What do you do to help?
well, there's a few things. Number one, I always tell them, do not give up. Do not give up, because the more you wait, then you have to start over again. And that's even more frustrating. Just like wait 2 weeks, brush yourself off, and put yourself back in there. But then you have to analyze. You analyze yourself like someone else, you help others. Help yourself. Like say, what did I do wrong? Because you're doing something wrong that made you fail. Or else if you keep doing the same thing, you're gonna get the same results. You might get, let's pretend you get like, you fail and you get like 83. And then you do the same thing, you might get another 83 and an 82 and 82 and 85. You're going to be in that same range. So that means that something must happen that you did wrong. Look at your scores and always study all over again. Some people end up just focusing on certain areas, like, oh, I did low in ethics, let me study ethics. But the next test you take is going to be different.
Yes, exactly.
So you have to, it's like pretending starting from scratch.
Mm,
Study more, practice more, have people test you. Because sometimes we think we know stuff, but we're just like cheating ourselves. And then we're like, oh, maybe I didn't know as much. And for test anxiety, well, actually, we do have a test anxiety workshop. I don't know if you know that, but I focus on test anxiety because it is real. Even well, there's a certain there anxiety is okay. We everyone gets
yes,
anxious
yes.
about certain things. It's all right. But when it's so extreme that it impairs your way of ability to take your exam and your performance, then you need to address it. So we do have a test anxiety workshop. We actually have one coming up in August, and it's
August
important.
one.
August 7th.
How can people sign up for that?
Oh, well, if you go on my Instagram, right, which is at Social Work Exam Bootcamp, that's my Instagram. There's a link in the bio, right?
Okay.
In the little bio, and there's my link tree. And that link tree has like everything there. It has my workshop stuff. It has my test anxiety workshop. It has my YouTube channel. It will have hopefully this, and then people could hear me again here with talking to you. It has a bunch of my info. My audio app stuff is there. Everything is in there. If you look, I think you have the same thing in your
Yeah.
bio.
Yeah.
It's just easier because people could find everything. And then of course, if you need to reach me, you could send me also a message on my Instagram, or you could email me. My email is socialworkbootcamp@gmail, and reach me. Give me a day or two, and I will
Mhm.
respond. I like to actually respond personally to everyone, even though I have some interns helping me with other stuff. But there's just so many questions that they're like, I don't know what to answer. So I usually end up, like, let me just do it.
Right.
So yeah, the test anxiety is real. Sometimes people just say, oh, it's okay. I'll just take a deep breath and I'll just get, or they don't realize they're very anxious. Because with test anxiety, sometimes your mind could go blank.
Oh yeah, of course.
Hmm.
Or
Or
your mind just wanders.
your
Like
mind wanders. No, it's true. It is
you're
true.
sitting in front of the computer for 4 hours, like then all of a sudden, like your butt hurts. Like my butt hurts. Now you try to
Everything.
concentrate.
I
Try to take a.
know.
Should I get out, take a break? But the time is ticking, and it's
Everything. All of
like.
that is, we review all those tips, all those things, especially in the test anxiety. I go through all of that. And I tell everyone, like, number one thing is make sure you're prepared for your tests. Don't cram, because people love to cram. Oh my goodness. And then also visit the site. That also alleviates anxiety. Like know where you're taking, what location it is, go to the location, go in the building, actually get to that like specific room, see how long it takes you to get there. That just honestly could lower your anxiety right off the bat,
Mm,
because sometimes people don't know where they're going, or
yes.
they if they're driving, commuting, traffic. I know
Hmm.
it sounds like, okay, like I'm exaggerating, but all of that stuff, all
So
those
I'm speaking
factors.
from experience.
Oh yeah.
Taking the
What
4
happened to you?
train, and
Oh,
the last time I took it, and I got there, I was like rushing, like,
you
and I
see.
was like soaking wet
Oh,
from
you
sweat
see?
before I got to the
I
building. And
I know. There you go.
so
That's just
it's
one
true.
experience.
It's true.
And I know this one I've had. Oh man, yeah, I have so many stories. One day, if you want to hear funny stories, I'll tell you. But I had one person. It was like 8 or 7:30 in the morning. She calls my phone, and I'm like, "Who is this?" And that was, I think, I don't even think people used to text. And she kept calling, and I knew who it was because I had saved her number. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I can't find my test site," and I'm like, "I don't know what to do." And I'm like, I don't know where is your test site? And she's like, I think they moved the building. And I was like, well, I don't even know how to look this up. Like, I don't know, maybe if you guys can remember, I don't know, maybe like in 2006 or seven, I don't think like people were using like Google and stuff, maybe. I
Right.
don't
It's
know.
like MapQuest or something like
Exactly. So I didn't know how to look,
that.
because now I will just be like, well, let me grab my phone, whatever.
Exactly.
But I didn't have those. I don't even think on the phone you could look things up like
No,
that.
depending what phone you have. Like,
Yeah.
maybe the side
BlackBerry or something. Sidekick. What
BlackBerry,
is it called?
the sidekick too, the
I
Dwayne
know. I
Wade
don't want to make
version
myself
maybe.
so old, but I didn't know like how to help this person, and she didn't end up going. She
Oh
didn't
my
know where to
god.
go. So things like that will that's like PTSD for me, because
Hmm.
I'll never forget that, and I'm gonna use that story to help others so that never happens to them.
Right.
And it sounds funny, but it is true to really go and know where your place is. That in itself will alleviate a bunch of anxiety.
No, yeah, absolutely. Now another thing that fascinating thing that you've done the past year is Latinx and Social Work book
Oh
volume
yeah.
one. How's
I'm
that?
gonna
How was that
oh
process for you?
the process is a process. Let me just tell you. Well, luckily, because I just after you do your doctorate, all you do is read and write during the doctorate. And once I decided to do that, I was like, okay, I forgot that I had to like literally read and write and mainly write. It's really hard to write if you're kind of not used to it. So being a part of that book, and I'm actually going to be in volume 3 as a madrina. I was supposed to be in volume 2, but she's
Ah.
yeah, I was like, oh, I
Oh,
like all the
that's breaking news because we're not even up to volume 2 yet. There's a volume 3.
there's a volume 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am I love the experience. Number one, just especially because we were just talking about this due to COVID, I haven't like networked. I haven't like, like gotten together with anyone or
Mm,
just being in that book, I was able to join an amazing group of Latinx um, social workers, right?
hmm.
Listening to their stories and actually telling my story. My story is in the book. Some of it I told you today, but some more, personal um, and just my experience and journey is in that book and my story, and I loved it. It was such a great experience. It was cathartic. When I started writing, I was like, oh, let me just write this, and all of a sudden I was like bawling at my computer, and Rick, my husband's like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Even though I'm a crybaby, I cry all the time, but I was like crying and crying. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm writing my book. He's like, okay. But just like you don't realize like everything you've done until you put it in writing.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, what the hell? I've been through so much, I didn't even realize. So just looking back and writing that book, it was just like an amazing journey. If anyone out there wants to read it or have you read it?
I have the book. I still haven't finished it. So
Okay.
now I'm gonna go back to read the
Check my
chapter.
chapter out.
I
Check.
there was somebody in there that was real curious
Oh
to read
yeah.
their stories. So
The stories are great.
yeah,
All the
it's
stories are fascinating. And I don't know what
and
I'll
listeners, viewers, I'm in volume 2. It's
oh,
coming
you
out
are.
in
Yay.
October 2022. So
Oh, it is October. Right, right. Latina.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got the exclusive. There's a volume 3. I didn't even know it was a
Hey,
volume 3.
they got I know. Maybe that was a secret. I'm not sure. But but I'm already in it, like in it. Pero I'm looking forward to volume 2. I was supposed to be in it. I started writing, and then when she told me, let's switch you to 3, I was like, okay, that's no problem, because it is a journey just to write your story.
Yeah,
It's
like
powerful,
like
but it's
I know for
also
me, like I know, I would say I
Mhm,
experienced what I wrote about, but to see it
mhm.
on paper and then going
Yes.
through it with Erica and then like
Mhm.
I got the tears coming down and
I
it's like
told you.
one time I was like my now wife, she's like looked at me as like I was like whoo, it's like
It is.
she was like, what's wrong with you? I was
Mm,
like,
I'm writing a
I
book.
just need I just need a minute. I just
You
decided to like go
see?
through stuff in the book. And it's definitely juicy.
It is. I'm telling everybody to read that. And then when we had our meeting and everybody started talking, like everybody was crying, and I was like, "Oh no, I know I'm gonna cry because I cry so easily." So I had to cry, and I had to like excuse myself because I was like, "Oh my God, I'm crying so much." Because just the stories and everybody telling what they're saying, just their experiences was like amazing, amazing. I think we're gonna all have a live get together though, which is different because all of ours was online,
Yeah,
and and
yeah.
that's gonna be
I heard about it yesterday. For
Mhm.
volume twos being
Yes.
in person. Now it's like I already checked the date out, so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
I'll see you hopefully there.
yeah, hopefully I will make a special trip back home.
I
Just to
know. I know. Well, we miss you here, but it's luckily we have the online presence, and we're
yeah,
able to connect virtually, and
hmm,
we could do that with our clients too, and that's just an amazing and
yeah.
spread our knowledge and our skills
That
to
so
all
much
our
has changed.
clients.
Zoom came out of pretty much nowhere, and those
Maybe
days.
your next podcast, I'll be talking to you in outer space. We don't know, right?
Who knows? To be like the metaverse or something, and like
Yeah,
uh,
that's
to
funny.
figure something out with this metaverse because it's definitely it's here already. It's just it's coming.
It sure is. Thanks to what is it? What is his name? Elon
Between
Musk.
Elon and
Hmm.
just everybody, all the billionaires, and
I know,
with
right?
the space. So we somehow we'll break into it somehow.
Yeah, the social work will still be powerful.
Yes.
That will never change. We do have a powerful field, whether you, because I'm in the psychology field, and let me just tell you, it's very boring. It is very boring compared to a social work. That the even the not to be mean to psychologists, but they're a different species. They're not that they're mean or bad or anything, but social workers are very different. I feel like they're more empath. They have more empathy, and just like I say, like an innate
Mm,
being, we are innately social workers. We are born into this field, and that's something that no one could just take out from us.
no, of course.
Hmm.
I know you touched on it earlier, but on the differences between the boot camp and compared to other programs out there. Like I know one of the main questions is like there's so many stuff like where do I start? Like so what makes the boot camp different compared to say like a TDC or like or any other people that have like courses out?
Well, I think every program has its, differences. I don't know much about a lot of different programs. Everybody has their good stuff, their bad stuff. Even me, I probably have good things, and some people probably don't like my program. Some people love my program. Some people love other programs. They don't like. I think it depends on the person also. And one thing that's different about my program is I feel like it's very personalized. I don't know if that's how other programs are, but I've always make sure I get back to people and I listen to them, and it's very individualized. And we have our classes, and it's very consistent, like I said, for 16 years, consistent. I've been ill, like literally I went to the emergency room once and I'm like, I need to leave because I have to go teach. And then, my husband was like, are you crazy? I was like, no, I have my responsibility with my boot camp. So just consistency, and people will know that I'm going to show up, and they trust me. They trust us 100%, even more. Um, I make sure that I'm very responsible with people's information, with whatever, and I try to give them the best um, program and information that possibly I can. And we do have a lot of new things coming up. We're going to have more exam practice questions. Like I said, we have the YouTube channel. We're just trying to provide more and more to help. And I think that's what it is. It's me, it's the person. And Dr. Mediano, we both have different personalities. He's more on the strict side. I'm a little too nice. That's why sometimes they call it the boot camp, because he's the boot and they call me the camp, I guess, right? Because the exam is important and it's
Yes, it is.
very tough. It's a tough exam. So we need someone tough to get everybody like strict, so they know that when you go in there, this is a tough test. It's not like an easy thing.
Mm.
So my program is tough. We are tough, but we have a reason, because we want people to pass their test.
And it's affordable.
Yes, I've had the same prices since 16 years. I mean, my workshop, had to change a little because, renting the rooms and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But, I've had the same $35 price in my class since 2006.
And
So,
you
and I
can't
don't
beat
want to
that.
change it. Yeah, I don't want to say, you know what? I don't, I'm not here. Okay, yes, of course, everyone has to make money. We
Yeah,
all
of
have to
course.
um invest and stuff like that. But also, I want to help people, and I just try to keep a nice range so that with everything that we are providing with that fee, and I just want to, make sure that they could get what they can with that fee. So we do have the weekly classes, and we have that 1 day workshop that comes up maybe like every few weeks or so.
Where are the classes located at?
So now everything's online.
Nice.
Everything's through Zoom, and They can come. We have classes 4 times a week and with different topics, and not just topics. Every class not only has a topic, but we go into like breaking down the questions, the exam strategy, because that's really what it is at the end of the day. Because you could get a question, and if you don't know how to break it down, because you have no idea what the question's about, that's how the exam feels. Because you're when the exam feels like I don't know what the hell they're even asking me. And learning to break down the questions what really makes the exam prep important.
That's
And then
good.
we have a lot of we have a lot of experience with this exam,
Mm,
many years of experience. That's another possible thing. A lot of programs, and then there's also a lot of tutors that they just want to be tutors, so people have to just be careful about that. But just make sure that the people, whoever's teaching you, has experience teaching, and also has experience about this exam, what the exam is actually asking you, and what kind of answer they're looking for.
yeah, no, absolutely. Some once in a blue moon, Dr. Rick's voice be in my
Oh my
head.
God.
Like this is a reading test.
Yes, there it is. He's a strict
That's good.
one, but listen, see, you still remember, right?
Yeah.
And then at the sometimes I'm like, oh, you're so strict. You gotta be. He was worse back in the day. Trust me. He's gotten really calm. But people are like, no, I need it. I really like it. I need that. I need someone to be on top of me. I need someone to tell me we need the real deal. We need the truth. So then I was like, all right, so you could keep being mean. Not mean in the sense. I
No,
mean,
no, he's
he's strict
it-
in the way he teaches, but what personally, when we speak, he's like, I really want them to pass, and if I like tell them in that way, maybe they could hear it. But
mhm.
if I say something like, hey, you'll pass and you're gonna be okay, like people don't hear that. It's just like when you go to the gym or your
Yeah,
Zumba class,
no, of
or you have a
course.
personal trainer. Imagine if your personal trainer is like, don't worry, you'll lose weight, you're fine.
Yeah,
And then nothing happens. You're like, wait a minute, I'm still not losing weight.
yeah.
But you need that
And you're paying
person's,
for it, so you might
yeah,
as well get your money's worth somehow,
yeah. We
some
have
way,
to like push people.
whatever works for you. So
I mean, yeah, it works. It's been working. So, if it's, what is it, doesn't break, whatever, what's that
yeah,
saying?
if it ain't broke,
It's
don't fix
broken.
it. So
Right.
nah,
And and I'm
it's
so proud of everyone,
it's funny because a video the other day a video on my Facebook memories came up of like my daughter when she was like 2,
Hmm.
and it's like nah, I'm going to sleep, and like I'm using the your strategies to get her to put
Oh,
it back
you
on sleep.
see, that's what I'm saying. You will not forget
Us
that.
assess and discuss before action. They call
Yeah,
it
it
the
is
the
very true.
acronyms and
There you go. It is so true because not only is this good for the exam, well, the main thing is we want to just teach exam because
yeah.
everybody we know they're great social workers. The skills, like I said, it's innate. And we're not doing supervision. We're not teaching like you to get a master's degree. You have that already. We're teaching you like what words to look for, what words to not look for, and what words to focus on, like assess and things like that. And then that stays with you, like as you can see.
Yeah.
And so I'm
It'd
glad.
be random, like all of a sudden, like assess
Yeah.
and discuss before
And we need to
action.
make a nursery, maybe a nursery rhyme out
Yeah,
of it.
exactly. Or make T-shirts like assess and discuss.
Right. Assess and discuss before action. Tattoos. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but there you go. There you go. Another idea, another source of income.
Yeah.
So the T-shirts do like a 1 day boot camp, and so the like the T-shirts
Yeah, I
and
know
so
we
the
had
workbooks
t-shirts.
and
Oh man, we've had t-shirts, we've had mugs and water bottles. And a lot of thing is harder because, we would have them like at the workshops.
yeah,
So, but we'll have them again. Because people ask for them. They're like, "Do you have anything else?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me see." But we do. We used to have pens. Like we have so many right now. Like, what am I gonna do with all these pens? Because we used to give them out in
right,
person. We
yeah.
have boxes and boxes, and they're gonna.
Like you were like the originator of the tote bags before
Oh, the
everybody needed a
tote
tote
bag.
bag.
See, now some people are like, "Oh my god, I use your tote bag to go to the supermarket." But back in the day, they would use it, for their workbook. That's
Right.
what it's for. And it's to keep your study materials all together so you could be nice and organized. So, but yeah, my tote bag, it'd be funny because sometimes I would be in the city or whatever and I would see someone walking around with it.
Yes,
And
I
I'm
do.
like, that's
Yeah.
me.
I sort on the train every once in a while. Then I'll strike up a conversation. Oh, you social worker doing boot camp, and there you
Yeah. I love my boot campers. If you in New York, I mean, they're all over the place. In other states, maybe here and there. But I know in New York, it's the boot camp has been around for so long.
But
It,
so August 7th.
August 7th is my test anxiety. August 14th is the one day workshop. That's a big one. I have a bunch of people signing up already. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is, at one point I have to, cut the list, of course. But then sometimes I feel that's why I'm the nice one. I'm like, they're like, please, can I sign up? I'm like, yes, okay. Even though I close the registration
And it's online.
online, it's through Zoom. And we have to ship out your workbook. And that's like I said, August 14th. The next one might be after that, maybe in October. I don't even know, because sometimes we need like a little break.
No, of course.
And yeah, so we have one in August 14th, and then we have our classes. If somebody wants to jump in, they just reach out to me and I could sign them up. We'll register you and you could start right away. Those are always ongoing, so they never end.
Awesome. A
Hmm.
lot of great stuff as always.
Thank you, Bass. You too.
Thank you. Well, get let people know again where people can find you.
Okay. So the best place honestly is Instagram, right? Because I have everything in there. You can message me there. You could jump on my link tree and you could find all my little activities that's going on. And my Instagram name is at Social Work Exam Bootcamp. At Social Work Exam Bootcamp. And if for some reason you don't have Instagram or you're like, I don't want to join Instagram just to find you, you can email me. That's a little different. It doesn't have the exam word in it. So that's Social Work Bootcamp. I tried to make it a little shorter. Social Work Bootcamp at Gmail. And then if for that doesn't work for some reason, I had one few people that did not have emails. Anyway, you can reach me by phone, but texting is better because if you call me, I'm gonna wait a few days to call you back, and then some conversations are very long, and
So
that take
try
yeah.
email because sometimes IG be shut down and like the world seems like it's coming to an end when IG shuts down
Oh yeah,
and
true. You never know.
which, which
And
which is why you got
my
to follow me on Twitter because we laugh at when Twitter
you know what?
and
I'm gonna
Instagram
follow you on Twitter. I
shuts
just
down.
started. Yes, everyone goes to Twitter when everything. I was on Twitter yesterday. Whatever happened to Clubhouse? I think of that, and it kind of faded quickly, right?
Yeah, I see people still use it. Like I heard about it. I went on a couple of times. I
Yeah, I don't think it
wasn't
really,
crazy
yeah, it
about it.
didn't really stay. Yeah, so my number is 917-683-8601. In case everything shuts down, you could only Twitter, whatever. But
Old
yeah,
school
old school way, call
text.
me,
Yeah.
text. Text is best. I mean, because the calling, sometimes I'm like, who is, oh, and you get like all the spam calls. So
Yes.
I don't answer. So
Yeah. The spams is ridiculous.
they are. All the calls are like telemarketing, spam, telemarketing. My warranty, whatever, the car warranty is.
uh,
I've been getting those messages for so long. I'm like, why do I keep getting these same messages? They're crazy.
crazy. It was good talking to you.
Nice seeing you and talking
Nice
to
seeing you again.
you.
Yes,
So good to see you. And I hope to see you soon again.
absolutely.